Hi, I'm Brian Goldberg from Investors Org, and today I'd like to have a chat to Ben Bickford. Ben, welcome.
Thanks
for
Brian.
coming in. Now, you've been around the industry for a long time and led a lot of aspects, especially in the mobile tech space, before it was called a startup or even trendy. So we're really keen to hear your views today. And so the first light question I have for you is what do you like about the startups?
Well, I like the fact that the ecosystem, the whole grouping of companies and entrepreneurs and even big business are all starting to find their place and how they all can work together. And I'd have to add the investment community to that, because I think also it's been bedding down over the last couple of years, very fast growth, finding its own space and then working out, I guess, that level of maturity, how to engage, who to engage with. And so it's been exciting to be a part of the journey, but I must admit it's also exciting to see how the different parts of the industry are working out their place and how to, I guess, best accelerate the growth and go well beyond a startup, if I quote that, to, I guess, fast growth companies that are making an impact, solving problems, obviously generating great, financial returns, but at the same time, employing and contributing to the community, contributing economically and otherwise in solving problems as well.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that's a good segue to the next question. Is from an investment perspective, and that's the theme of Investors Org, is what do you look for in a startup, or what do you think are the winning attributes for a startup?
It's good. There's two questions there. I'll start off first, probably just by sharing a little bit about my risk profile, because that probably gives you an idea.
Yeah, sure.
Every investor would have their own risk profile, and they'd look and certainly hopefully be very aware of that. And that then tends to line up with the appropriate investment and people that they might want to invest in. So for me, having started trading in the stock market when I was 16 at school, I guess I got a bit of a feel for the excitement of making money very quickly, but also, the downside of risks and the way stock markets go. But for that, it definitely gave me a good experience early on into, I guess, having a long-term game, and at the same time, more than just backing companies, backing people. And so when it comes to startups and technology, I'm really excited about the people, their background, what makes them tick, what drives them, and at the same time, putting that into reality. So I do back people. I go beyond the advisory and what I'm doing now, helping bring digital products to life. I like to really get to know those people and how they work with their team, and as I say, what makes them tick. And I think that's just as important as looking at the traditional financial metrics.
That's right. And in the startups, do you focus on if it's a local Australian application of the business or startup, or does it need to be global from day one?
Good question. I guess having worked for US companies for about 13 years, I do like to look at the very big picture and to see in that investment profile the long game. So I'd have to say that I do like the excitement of those large trajectory type visions, solving big problems, and that's where I think there's still a huge number of areas for investment, but also for entrepreneurs to go and solve some of these big problems. There's a lot of big corporates that are very set in their ways. They've got legacy systems and very entrenched processes. So there's lots of gaps for the entrepreneurs to step in and not just solve it for one company, but to see the market opportunity, to see it here and internationally. So yeah, definitely, it doesn't have to be international, but I would say that that's definitely part of my makeup as well, and my what excites me as well.
And you have touched on the founders as a main attribute, but what specifically about the founders do you get excited about?
So getting back to that other question, attributes, if I break it down, there's an element of tenacity, and it's not something you can just ask the question and get an answer. When you get to know someone over time and break bread, so to speak, have dinner, catch up for lunches, see them interacting with other people. The other part is that they go beyond probably just the very detailed focus of execution, and they have that element of, I would say, multi-skilled. They've got very personable traits. People like to do business with people, so that to me is very important. That they've got a broad and varied background, and with that they bring a lot of depth and breadth of skill. Not that they've got to be an expert in everything, but when it sums it all up, combining that with drive and tenacity, broad range of skills and a broad network, and certainly personable, good relationship people. I think there's some key aspects for the personal side. And then the other aspect would be to really understand what problem they're trying to solve and why.
Yeah.
And understanding the why and understanding themselves and what makes them align with that why. That's what I'd suggest is the other part that I really get to know over time, and just to make an assessment of how strong that is, how strong their connection is with what they're trying to achieve and that vision and the why they're doing it.
Oh, it's a fantastic deep insight. Thank you, Ben. And what are you up to now? Being always busy, but what are you focusing on?
I'm currently heading up digital strategy for an organisation that around the 50-person mark. It's actually a very exciting company. It's been around since 2009, so about 7 or 8 years now. And they've taken the journey from social media and helping take companies and brands into this new space of social media, which now we all have in our pocket and we're a little bit more aware and wise to it. And they, with some very big branded clients, were taken into the field of developing applications. And right now we're in the process of doing that for global companies, for regional companies, and really helping transform them through digital. So when I say that, I mean predominantly mobile apps, but it's that combination of understanding how their company is today and how it needs to transform at the culture level and better relate at a user experience level. So it's probably a term that maybe around Investors Org they might not hear all that often, but user experience is becoming almost as important as increasing revenue, decreasing costs, and improving customer service. To add to that, understanding the users and the user experience, the people who are going to deal with you and your company and your services, and get intimate with them is really, really key. So bringing all that together and understanding how you could scale that better and more efficiently and more cost effectively using digital technologies is certainly where my focus is. And as I say, with big brands, but also startups and entrepreneurs. So it's an exciting place for me right now.
Wow, sounds great, and you sound busy. So that's a good challenge you've got ahead of you. So thank you very much for coming in and speaking to us at Investors Org. We appreciate your insights.
Pleasure, Brian. Thanks
Ben.
again.
All the best.
Thanks.